I was sitting around a large banquet table up at the UUA headquarters this past week in Elliott and Pickett House, our denomination's bed and breakfasts. A group of 11 of us were meeting together for a few days on a council that deals with staffing and finances. Think health insurance, retirement, and hiring practices for UU congregations. We're going around the table introducing ourselves in the most boring way possible. Name, what group we represent, where we serve. After a few descriptions in, one member of the council jumps in and asks, "What's your favorite movie?" A blank look creeps on the person's face as they are immediately thrown out of their dry rote, and it shifts into the warmth of the person inside. We're out of our head and reliving a moment of joy, or depth, or humor, or silliness in some cases. Various answers: Lincoln, Chinatown, arsenic and old lace. I finally went with The Empire Strikes Back. Thank you. Terrifying to admit that in public, right? There are a few more odd looks around the table as everyone's faces went back to the memories of that movie. The cartoon thought bubbles popped over their heads. Well, that's sci-fi. It's not great theater. Well, not in the classic sense. One of the lead roles is a Muppet. And then faces started to slowly nod. The movie does stand the test of time. It does define a generation with its scope of wonder. Deep down, we all want the Force to be with us. So something you should know right now about me: I'm a big sci-fi fantasy geek. Our lives are so serious. There are so many challenges and struggles in the world. I take it all to heart and sometimes get very immersed in my work, in my ministry. Give me a Muppet with a lightsaber any day. Apparently I'm not the only one with that preference. The recently late, great Roger Ebert agrees with me. He writes, "The Empire Strikes Back is the best of the three Star Wars films and the most thought-provoking. After the space opera cheerfulness of the original film, this one plunges into darkness and even despair and surrenders more completely to the underlying mystery of the story. It is because of the emotion stirred in the Empire that the entire series takes on that mythic quality that resonates back to the first and forward to the third. This is the heart." Listen to Ebert. We can encounter the range of human emotions from cheerfulness and joy to darkness and despair until we eventually surrender to the mystery of the story. I have to wonder if he was trying to write a critique of the film or if he was secretly throwing in a working definition of the role of religion in our lives. As Unitarian Universalists, we're never going to agree on all things theological, right? Right, okay. Let's just get that out there right now. Especially if we try to think of theology in terms of beliefs to follow. That's not going to work for us easily or well. Our faith is more focused on our shared commitments and convictions. At its best, at our best, religion helps us to appreciate the times of joy when they come and make sense of the despair that will find its way into our lives from time to time, while knowing we're never truly left alone to deal with it. And the beauty of our faith, throughout all of our intellectualisms, all our critique, all our challenges, part of it recognizes that there's no one way to understand the world that's absolutely correct. Our neat rows on Sunday morning are filled with folks who each hold a different view from the next. We seek to reflect the breadth of human experience without placing it in a box, cataloged and pinned neatly. Follow Unitarian Universalism far enough down the road, and eventually it asks us, as Ebert described, to surrender more completely to the underlying mystery of the story, of our story. We point to a central awe at the heart of our lives, and we struggle to name it, as best and sometimes as worst as we can. Meditation or mindfulness can bring us there. A dedication to God can bring us there. Compassion, for the simple sake of compassion, can bring us there. what we call it, or what discipline we use, matters much less than the openness to a sense of wonder in our lives. Ebert's review went on to say, in the glory days of science fiction, critics wrote about the sense of wonder. That's what The Empire Strikes Back creates in us. Like a lot of traditional science fiction, it isn't psychologically complex. That's because the characters are not themselves, they're us. We are looking out through their eyes instead of into them, as we would in a more serious drama. We're on a quest, on a journey, on a mythological expedition. We're in a receptive state, like that of a child. Our eyes and ears are open, we're paying attention, and we are amazed. It's this sense that I try to keep in mind when we talk about some of our principles. Take the fourth, for example, where we covenant to affirm and promote the responsible search for truth and meaning. What does responsible search even mean? Intellectually honest? Kindness in our speech, especially when we disagree? Folks have buttons around them today, I think some of you, that ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? That might be responsible. It also means we're open-minded. We're paying attention, that we allow ourselves to be amazed by life, a life that we did nothing of our own to come into. When we move to the center of our search, of our quest, back to a place of wonder and respect, it can feel a little humbling, right? I really have to marvel at how all this came out of a committee meeting, roundtable introduction. It's funny how the little insertion of humanity can turn the droll into something engaging. Yesterday, the younger kids had 10 minutes to ask me every question they could imagine that they wanted to know. And it ranged from, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite month? Your favorite place? Animal? To, what's your favorite experience? My head went somewhere else. Everything else I was answering one way, and the other one, the smile comes on, and you center in wonder again. What and where gave us all the facts and details we needed for basic intros, but left us dry. We heard that with Anna also in her reflection this morning. The what's and where's don't matter as much as the who she is, the who we are here. Bringing us instead to questions of passion or preference or joy changed the nature of our meeting, and it changed the quality of our interactions. People I have worked with time and time again, people who I thought were otherwise nice, but I never made a real connection with them in this meeting, it finally clicked. By the end of the few days, we started sharing more and more of our lives together after the work hours were done. It's in this sense that I hope we can root our shared ministry together in the years to come. A wise teacher once told me, it's best to start as we mean to continue. That practice has saved me heartache time and time again in the work world and in my personal life. Whatever negative practices we start with will stay with us for the long haul. Well, I'd like to flip that. Let's start a good habit together. Let's be open to a sense of curiosity for our differing views. Let us craft spaces for people to feel at home here, as Anna talked about, whether they believe in God or they do not believe in God, or they aren't particularly moved one way or the other. Despite all our knowledge, mystery is at the very core of life. We don't really know. But the journey and how we handle ourselves on the road matters very deeply. Silencing one perspective is just as bad as silencing another. We are stronger for our diversity.